Hi, it's Pete the Hipster King from the Hairy Game Mods, and this evening we have been playing this Free Radicals from WizKids. What did we think? Stay tuned to find out. Free Radicals is an asymmetric game where you can play from, I think it's two to five players. It says 90 minutes. It took us 2.5 hours to play this evening, including learning time and then some. Dave saying a little bit more than that probably. Where basically you each play a faction and you are playing. Each of you has your own individual game that you are playing. So we played, there were 5 of us playing tonight. We had I was playing as the Hoteliers, which was basically a polyominoes game. You had a pick up and deliver game. There was a kind of domino type game, I guess, where you were farming. Others will tell you what their games were because I can't really explain those very well. And you have to learn with all those asymmetric games, you have to learn your game to know what you're doing. So in terms of how your game plays, and basically it's a 12-round game, which is why it takes quite a while, because you each take your turn, then you have to wait for the next person. So in a 5-player game, you're talking a lot, 5 times 12, that's 60 turns in the game. And it's not easy to take these turns simultaneously because your turn will have impact on other players. So you're doing stuff on your own kind of home board, and then that will give you actions that you're able to do potentially on the main board to earn victory points. There's lots of ways of scoring victory points in game. And then you are kind of doing, there's a little set collection game and a tracking, like a tracker at the top where you get points for how many sets you've collected. And obviously on the trackers, the people at the top of the trackers get the most points. I really enjoyed the little game. I was the hotelier playing this on my board I've got these 4.
He looks like you.
And he does look a little bit like me. He is the hipster king, so I chose this one. And you're filling these with little polyomino tiles. You get 3 of these to lay on your boards. And if I lay it on the purple board, I'm able to choose either gaining a resource or taking the prestige token. Here I can activate a building. That gives me loads of points and the potential to earn points later on. And so you're placing around, making your choices, and when you fill up one of these hotels, you're able to advance on your little solo track up here and get some extra resources and eventually some points. So I really enjoyed playing this one. I suppose the one potential downside to this game is the fact that whilst you're waiting, there's a fair bit of downtime. So for us, that was quite nice because we had a lot of chatting during the game, which because you can focus on your game, you take your turn, and then the only thing you need to watch out for is if people are using buildings that you've activated, because that gives you a little bonus. But that, the rest of the time, they're just you're planning your turn, taking your turn, so lots of chat. But the downside of that, of course, is if you're not that chatty, this won't be the game for you, because you're potentially talking maybe 5 or 10 minutes before your turn will come round again, where you just sat sort of thinking,
Dave.
I guess we played it at the max player count. If you played this at a lower player count, all the factions are still in play. They just don't play, so you can still score from them, but they're not actively doing the turn. So I'm sure, at 2 or 3 players, this would play quicker. But I really enjoyed the little puzzle of my game and sort of working out where people were going to end up. And actually, realistically, apart from James, who absolutely sort of slayed us, the rest of us were all within striking distance of each other and probably a turn or 2 of each other, so it was pretty close, apart from James, who managed to farm his way to victory yet again.
Slightly bit of James here. Yes, the farmers are amazing in the right hands. No, Pete did give us the choice at the start of it, and he gave us essentially all of these titles. So each different player's got their own 2-sided rule sheets. There's 2 different red alternatives, so there's farmers and the things, the adventurers and the paladins, the artisans and the underground. You can choose one of the 2. So I chose the farmers because personally I love building and just making like super engines And the farm is fantastic because you start small, and eventually you're doing like 3 massive whopping turns at the end, and just get all of the points. And it was lovely. So I really enjoyed the way that the game, in my opinion, was perfectly balanced because I came out so far on top. At first it was quite daunting. This is the central board. I quite like when there's a bit of space on things. This is a little scary to me, but actually it made a lot of sense. It's very efficient use of spaces, and there is no other space for anything else. Down the bottom here you've got the buildings, which you can use. Over here, this is a score tracker. I was about here probably.
Everybody else. Slight exaggeration.
There's your round tracker there. Over here, this is the research track, knowledge track, and so this was a really interesting one because as you go along, you're paying your cost to get along, moving yourself further along. But each time you get points, and then as you go over the threshold, if somebody goes over that threshold, then there's also benefits. But the best thing about that is you're actually incentivized to push other people along the knowledge track. Everybody was okay. Everybody apart from Pete and Dave was pushed further along the track. It was a little harsh to see them squandering the lack of knowledge, but it's a really nice way to kind of get that thing. The other thing that was a lot of fun was we've got these favour tokens. There's 5 different colours. Oh my goodness! Using my dexterity there. So each of these represents favour from the different factions. I'm so sorry, Pete. As you're going through the game, you are able to get these through different kind of means. We all have different ways of getting those things. And at the end of the game, you want to get a good spread, but you also want to get a good quantity of them in order to get points. So it's a really nice way of kind of interacting. You get those through buildings as well. The first kind of like comparison to make really with this is Merchant's Cove. We've played Merchant's Cove. Check out our review on that. We had a lot of fun playing that. It's fast, it's easy to get into, it's colourful, beautiful. I love the kind of like whole kind of almost chunky feel to it, whereas this is very kind of like, I don't know, compact. And kind of feels a bit more kind of gamey. Now, the biggest difference between Merchant Cove and this is Merchant's Cove was very simultaneous. It was a lot faster and a lot more kind of like interaction on the board. Whereas actually, for us, it was really nice having a chat about what we thought about the Pac-Man and all that kind of stuff. It's really nice as a game that you can catch up with other people on. And when it comes around to your turn, you don't have to do a huge amount of thinking, because actually, once you've boiled it down, the little mini games aren't too complicated. Having said that, the rules were quite hard for us to take in. Learning the game fresh and also learning our factions fresh was quite a lot, and we took probably a good kind of couple of thinking turns to get in there. So yeah, the other thing I was going to say is we had a struggle with the adventurers. The adventurers start on the board as such. Check out the forums on Board Game Geek for that, because we had a question and it is answered there.
Bearded lady here. I was the adventurers. Can I just say, love the artwork. Really do like. I mean, all of the artwork, all the characters look.
Look at the hipster king.
Look at him. They look solid. Really, really cool. And on the reverse side of the player boards is the alternative green player that you can play. I mean, look at that cool robot thing there. He's like, aceness. Look at that.
Got a baby.
He's got a baby, and more importantly, he's got a fine, fine beard. So here we go. The adventurers, they had on their this area here was a whole load of these tiles that are placed at random at the beginning of the game, and then you get to flip them over and discover different things. And what's cool is that your tile is activated when a player lands on there. You've got 5 players that go around the board, and depending on who lands on there, Depends on what their activation is. You also have a thing in the top right where, again, you can activate that or use that ability to help you gain all the different things that have been talked about already. For me, I really, really enjoyed this game, but as with all asymmetric games, it is a little bit of a uphill challenge at the beginning to understand your own rules, and as I don't read rules, that was a difficult one for me. And it took me a few goes to get my head around it before I let out the usual thing that I say is, "Oh, I really like this game." It did take a few rounds.
We were worried. You did not look happy. First couple of turns.
I was not happy.
I'm really sorry I made you play this, Ange. It was a bit like that at the first few minutes.
But when I got into it, and James was like, "Oh yeah, you're really into this now," that's when it came out. Oh, I really like this game. A good game, and actually lots of replayability. Even in the adventurers, there was more tiles than you get laid down in one game. And then, of course, you have your alternative players with a completely different set of rules and way of playing the game. So all in all, a good game, and came second. Thought I was absolutely steaming it, and then, of course, the farmer cashed in at the end. Or a dick. But components are nice. I enjoyed it.
Hi, Martin here. So in this game, I was playing as the couriers. Ooh. Now with these, the in-game for this, you simply go about with your drones in order, placing one and then moving on and then doing the actions on it. It's very simple. I enjoyed playing this quite a bit actually, and you would then collect your little gifts parcels to drop off for these little missions. And once you do that, you get a permanent bonus every time you go on that square, which is very nice. Now, I was absolutely excellent at going about doing everything on this, but then I realised about 2/3 through the game, I hadn't done anything with the main board. So I lost badly. I genuinely don't know what to say about these.
Fair enough, sorry.
You never used them.
There were cards. There was cards in it that I did very little about.
I gave you 2.
Yeah, Dave did give me 2 cards, and these, you activate the buildings on the main board. Now, I only activated 1 building, so, yeah, I don't know enough about it. But it is good. I would love to play again, but as a different character possibly, to see, like, because each player's got different playability and enjoyment factor on it. Do it.
Hi, Dave the Great. So, Free Radicals. To start with, I played the Underground, which are quite easy to play. So you get a bunch of peoples who are part of the Underground, 4 cards, and you get to play all 4 of them, and they all do slightly different things. And you have your little board here, and basically the aim of the game is to upgrade your characters so you get more choice of different actions. And it is quite straightforward. So one of them, level 1, gets you 2 credits. Dead easy. Play the card, get 2 credits. Upgrade him, and he can visit a building and get you a resource, or get you 2 credits. One of them gets you level 1, 2 resources. Now, to be honest, by the end of the game, I was absolutely swimming in resources, because part of this is it's very easy, but it's also, this character is very luck driven on what card you get in your hand. And to be honest, what I found was I got to do a lot of chatting, because it took me about 3 minutes to play, a minute to... It was amazing. Normally, my turn, these guys are all going, come on, Dave, come on, what are you doing? Is it, whose turn? Oh, it's Dave's turn. That's how we know it's Dave's, because we're all waiting for him to do something. Whereas this, it took me about a minute to plan my turn, and then I was waiting for 20 minutes for it to be my turn. So there was a lot of downtime. So, in fairness, at the start, I was like, oh, this is easy. Shut up, Ange. Why are you struggling so much? But I think as Ange's getting into the game increased, my level of interest probably went down, because I was just sitting around waiting for something to happen. Now, it's entirely possible if I picked a different character, there'd be more planning and more for me to do. But as it is, that character was almost too easy to play, but I didn't have any real control over what was going on. So it was a bit of a miss for me, which is unusual, but we did have a chat in almost acceptable company. So, you know, not a completely wasted evening. Give it a try if this kind of thing is your bag, and it looks very pretty, and the other guys had a lot of fun. I think it was just my character didn't really fit with my play style, so this time round it was a bit of a mess. But, you know, you win some, you lose some.
Hugs for Dave.
Dave, you lost, didn't you?
Dave, yeah, salty
Did I
tears.
lose?
Oh.
Quiet on set, please.
Challenging.
I didn't get the choice of that. I don't know.
Hi there. Shut up, everybody. And keep your clothes on, Ange.
I'm not
It's
gonna
not that
bounce
kind
this
of
time.
review. Hi there.
Sorry,
It's
what did you say?
I think I just want to bounce.
Hello there. Hi there. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. It's Peter Kipster.
Kipster Ting.
Kipster Hing. Hi there. Oh.
Get it together, Pete.